And we are live. We're
For,
live. Dan Lucas. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I doxed you on our very first conversation.
I forgive you this time.
All right. While I'm tweeting out a link in case anybody else wants to join this conversation, why don't you go ahead and just start talking about the very beginning of our new comic book, HIRO, what the idea came from, the genesis of it all.
All right. So, man, I guess this has been maybe 3 years ago now when the initial idea kind of came to me. And the initial idea, I remember I was met Jason. We were watching Gracie cheerleading at Lord Botetourt High School. And
don't dox everything in our life.
it was great. But we so I told him about this idea. The idea was I had this dream, and it started off about there were these machines, and the machines were basically, in a nutshell, there sounds kind of morbid and gross, but holding these bodies, these dead people up. They're floating around with them, and the machines were just basically trying to act human by holding these bodies up. And that was just the spark that I had. So Jason started running with this and pitching ideas back and forth. We ate dinner and we just came up with all these ideas to go with. And I think that night we were like, we're gonna make a comic book out of this. Like, this is an idea. This is a somewhat original idea. I don't think anybody's done this before. Let's do it. So it is not just machines holding dead bodies. I'm happy to say it's something totally different than that now. And it has those qualities about it. It has some weird science and some zombie-ish traits to it, but it's also a whole lot bigger of a story, I think, and something that is going to be really cool to see unfold, I hope. And I hope all the people that will eventually be able to read this book when we get it kicked out and get it put on the shelves will really enjoy it and see where our creativity and vision kind of came from, and hopefully what we can do with it.
So do you think that we should just basically just let everybody in on the process of what we're doing? You know, like I just tweeted out, like, watch a couple of noobs, screw this up. Because that's, I mean, we're going to hit a bunch of mistakes and we're going to try our best to make something cool. But at the same time, we're going to make a lot of mistakes because we've never published a comic book before.
Yeah. I think this would be, if you want to see a couple guys really screw up, but ultimately make it, I hope this has a really happy ending for you guys to watch. But I think it'd be cool to have people come along with us as we try to do this thing. And I don't know if that's been done before. Has anybody watched a couple guys try to like kickstart a comic, and has this happened?
I mean, I know that people have walked through, like first 100 days of making a comic. I know there's been a lot of people who have created comic books and shared the process of making comics, but we are the greenest of the green. I mean, we are basically a couple of fanboys who think we have a pretty good idea.
Right.
I mean, I've got some creative background. I've been a creative industries person for a while, so I can illustrate, I can write decently. Dan, I don't think you have any. Do you have any previous writing experience whatsoever?
Not at all. Like very little. I read a lot of comic books, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and that is where that is as far as my skills have gotten me so far, which is nowhere. So my day job is nothing like this. I ride bikes and stuff like that. And I work for an outfitter, but I don't professionally write or anything. So
yeah, and I mean, and really, like, even if you're a longtime fan of comics, I mean, it takes a long. I had no idea. Just jumping into this thing, I had no idea how long it was actually going to take to just get a few things done, to get a few things accomplished.
When we left that night, when we first started talking about this, I was like, 6 months tops. We'll be like done. This thing will be out there. It's going to be so cool. And I mean, is it 3 years? Is it 3 years or 4 years? It's been a while.
I think it was 2000 and I think it was 2014.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah.
So 4 years.
4 years. And that is, and we're not even like, I mean, we're close to putting something out there for people to see, but we're not, I mean, like we've got a lot more to go. Whole lot.
Yeah. The thing that stops us, you know, what gets in the way of actually making this stuff is really that you have to have your time paid for, right?
Yeah.
And where we need help and where we're going to go when we put this on crowdfunding is that we want to get some of the artwork paid for, and the publishing costs and you know, the printing, you know, all that kind of stuff. The goal is to get that paid for. So
yeah, yeah, it'll be cool to see if people look at this, look at the preview. Part of the preview is the people creating the book too, like watching the video of the guys or girls that are putting out whatever product or service you're looking to help fund. So I hope people like us, and I hope that they, you know, see a couple of goofy dudes that are trying to achieve something that is kind of a dream for them, right? I mean, a dream to put out a comic book, right?
Absolutely. And it's definitely been one of my dreams ever since I was a little kid. I mean, absolutely. You know, growing up in the 90s, I mean, what's your comic book fan background? Like, what did you like growing up?
Yeah. So born in '83. So I was in the very sweet spot of Marvel putting out millions of comic books, like Jim Lee's famous X-Men #1. And you'll love this, all the Rob Liefeld and like foil covers and embossed covers and stuff like that was where I grew up with. And so I read a lot of that. I read a lot of when Image came out. I read a whole lot of Spawn, and I have some DC stuff too. I read a lot of, I had a lot of Batman books, which I feel like everybody does. Death of Superman, like it's not even worth, I don't know if those books are worth the paper they're printed on, but I have a whole lot of those too. I read a lot of that stuff, but my tastes have changed and grown over the years, and so
thanks to me. You're welcome.
Single-handedly got me off of McFarlane and Liefeld and Jim Lee, although some of those are still good. But
no, I mean, you know what? All of those are still really good.
What about you, man? Tell.
Well, I'm a little older than you. I don't want to say how much older I am than you, but a little bit. And it's definitely the same kind of thing. 90s comics was everything. Late 80s, early 90s, that was the sweet spot for me. So Image guys were my guys. You know, when the first Image books came out, I was right there. They had an order a catalog. I can't remember what it was called, like American Comics or something like that. Because I had a comic shop in my town, but it was very small, and it basically had mostly back issues. And if you went in to try to find the new comics, you wouldn't get them. So you know, we had a spinner rack in the town I grew up in, like in the People's Drugstore, you know. But we didn't have like a really nice big comic shop with lots and lots of new stuff. So when I wanted my comics, I had to order them through a distribution service. And so I begged my mom for as much money as I could possibly get from her. And I ordered Savage Dragon. I ordered Spawn. I ordered Wildcats #1. I think I even ordered like Shadowhawk, you know, like all of them. I had them all. So
finest foil covers ever made.
Oh, dude, I had it. I had Wildcats #2, which was a shiny silver cover.
Yeah.
you know, it was awesome. But before that, it was all of those guys at Marvel. I followed those guys over from Marvel to Image.
Yeah.
Huge fanboy of all that stuff. So yeah.
The rock stars of the comic industry.
I'll never forget seeing Rob Liefeld doing the Gene commercials.
And Levi's 501.
I thought, oh my gosh, my favorite comic artist is on a commercial. I thought that like comics were going to go mainstream and that these guys were going to be in like music videos and stuff. And what's funny is they kind of were connected to the music industry in some way. So
it's as close as anybody got. Look at them now, though. Some of those guys.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to show a couple of pages?
Yeah, so you have the controls on that. Let's look at some of the some of what you got.
Well, before we do that, like, let's talk about our process. And this is where we've really hit a bunch of, I would say, growth recently. Sure. We started out as, you know, you were just basically writing, free writing.
Yeah, it was literally me typing away with no grammar, punctuation, or like process into the keyboard and sending it to you in a mail format, like straight up in an email. Like I probably didn't even have like paragraphs marked out.
I got tons of printed Word docs, man. I mean, tons of printed Word docs.
And then I finally. Man, I wish I had the artist or the writer's name. I found a guy who put out, he was like, this is how you should write a script for a comic book, like the correct way. And I read like this entire script that he wrote for this comic book, and I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I just went with that. I got it. I changed the names. I just formatted it. And went from there, and that was a big turning point for me to make sure that I didn't drive you insane with all of the just random things that I would put into whatever I was writing.
Well, I mean, and while you were writing those things out, I was trying to figure out what the images were looking like. So you're writing, free writing, and I'm doing sketches, and we're getting together and talking about these things. And it was exciting and fun, you know, just like, hey, check out this sketch I drew.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, that looks awesome. But they were just the earliest pictures.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
They
and
weren't anything
too, like part of that thing, and I can't remember if this is in the Marvel way, but it says like if you have an idea of what you want the panel to be, you know, describe it for the artist.
Right.
If you want that. So there was some where I was like, just you do it, like you're gonna have a better idea of how to make that happen than me. I don't even know how to write, number one. I definitely don't know how to draw. So, you know, take care of it. But there were some that I was like, man, this is what I see in my head when I think about this part of the book. And so I was able to do that. So I feel like some of my DNA is in that book too, not in the art, but in the idea of the art, maybe.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun to do and fun to see, I guess, when you started really throwing down more than just sketches, throwing down ink on them.
Yeah, like we put down I put down some pencils. We actually did read a little bit about how to do it. So we jumped in with a little bit of knowledge, but like we started out doing thumbnail pages. I watched a couple of tutorials on how to set up your thumbnail. So we did thumbnails, and then I went through and did like a little bit better beyond thumbnails. We did some pages, and it was then that we realized like, yeah, we need a story.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like we don't just, I mean, like writing it out in a Word doc and then trying to translate that to images is one thing, but like we really learned quickly that we're going to have to get together and talk about panels and about scripting, you know, and about how to storytell and how to get those things to kind of translate off the page into somebody else who doesn't know, you know, how this whole thing started. So yeah, we started out pretty.
It's backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, noobs. I mean, that's really what we're a couple of noobs, man. That's really all it is to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we came up with something that resembles a comic book spread. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I love the idea behind the whole thing is, I think, phenomenal, and I think it's going to carry a story, and the artwork is going to be good enough to carry the story with it. So I'm going to show you a couple things. Let me switch over here just a second.
Switch over. I'm going to let the dog in.
Yeah, go for it, man. It's you know, just a couple of noobs trying to do a live stream here.
My dog's barking, waking up the neighborhood.
All right, I think I can lock it in to be just that, so you can see just my screen there. So this guy, you want to kind of just walk? I mean, we got a few pages, right? So this guy, his name is
King. Go on, buddy. Go lay down.
What's King doing in there?
He is stinking up the joint and looking for something to eat for dinner right now. But he came over. He wants to be part of the live stream, I think. But
hey, King's welcome to be part of the live stream.
He's gonna find somewhere cool to lay down right now.
Yeah. So this is the earliest page, and it basically sets up the story. And you know, you can see. Let's see here, just a second. This guy his name is Crouppen, and the entire story begins with this guy. And there's a close up on his face because we're showing that this guy is a intelligent guy. He's got some serious stuff going on right now, and he's really the brain. He's the brain of this. He's Dr. Crouppen, and he is a genius in biology and a genius in biochemistry and animatronics. So he is a Russian refugee with the U.S. government. And to set up the scene for the entire book, the United States is at war with Russia. And we have gotten
alternate timeline, not current timeline.
Alternate timeline, but forward. We agreed that we're going forward by a few years, so we're not like crazy into the future.
Right. Yeah.
And alternate timeline meaning there's a different political climate than the one we have, and that there is a America at war is kind of who we are in this book. This guy was kind of working for the enemy, and he was captured and sought asylum.
Right, being forced, right? Or I guess.
Well, as with all things, there's lots of details. I don't necessarily want to get into everything, but basically, yeah, he's being coerced to help the United States government. But he is doing a fine job at trying to create something. So right here, just a second, get a little close up here. So here we've got he is being, the guy that's yelling in his face is a general, and the general's name is Marsh, General Marsh. He's got one of his lieutenants standing behind him, and these are Army guys. General Marsh is the person who was in charge of the project that they're working on. I've got the guys down. I'm going to work on some backgrounds on here too, but that's not done yet. Here is Marsh belittling a person, a person with a disability. He is a no-nonsense general who does not care about disabilities. He only cares about results. And Dan, you can jump in anytime.
Yeah, you're doing fine. I'm just forming my thoughts right now.
Okay. Here's General Marsh in a very serious stoic stance, and we're having a conversation here. Word bubbles have not been added to this page yet. Let's see, page 3. You can sort of get the scene of what's happening here. This is a very strange situation going on. They have started a process here that the reader's going to find to be a little bit gruesome, but very interesting. So
I feel like when when the initial idea came and when I started thinking about it more, this is one of those situations where it's weird and gross enough that you don't necessarily want to know more about it, but you do though. You do want to know more about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you definitely look at this and you think, oh, there's something terrible going on there, but I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
So as you can see in this scene, it's a big splash, and these guys are all standing behind their equipment. They are looking on to this experiment that is taking place in front of them. So this thing is lowered down on the what appears to be a decaying body, and this thing is actually going to merge with this body. As you can see, these little tentacles are going into the spine. This little drill is going into the skull. It begins to attach itself to the body. This is a deceased body. And as it does, you begin to see the liquid and the fluid going into the brain and into the body. When this is colored, it is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see this colored.
It's going to be cool to get somebody good at that and throwing them. I mean, I'm not saying you're not good at it, but it's going to be good to get somebody that's really talented in colors.
I'm definitely not a colorist, and I would be glad to have some help there. So yeah, this is a process that is going to be very interesting to you sci-fi fans.
There's a lot of terms that I feel I was kind of proud of creating.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in part, I guess part of writing, like, and once again, ignorance here, but, you know, you have to be creative in word use and how to bring across like what's happening, even though that's something that's not happened before. Right.
Right.
So it's kind of fun to like sit around and like play with the thesaurus and just like look at different words and then other words that kind of, you know, that like just playing around, mushing things together and figuring out what works. And it was neat to do that for this.
Yeah, and you'll when we start putting some of the words on the page, and you can start reading those words and terms and kind of see how we set things up. I think it's going to be very pleasing, like I said, to a lot of the sci-fi fans out there. So obviously something very dramatic is happening here. This thing is in some way melding itself onto this dead carcass. And as you can see, the process is very intense, hard to look at. Dr. Crouppen has seen it before, but he's always amazed every time he sees this process happen. And it results into this new creature, this dead body that has come back to life.
Is it a zombie? Is it something different?
Who knows?
We're going to have to that together.
Yeah, it's you know, it's kind of like a zombie, but this guy is getting up from the slab from which his dead body was laying on. So, you know, he kind of is looking at himself, and good old General Marsh walks up to the foot-thick glass that this creature is behind, and he is looking at it wide-eyed in disbelief, and this creature is just looking at itself, wondering what exactly it is.
Yeah, it's I think you'll get to learn kind of in the process what's happening in the, I mean, not necessarily what's happening in the mind of the creature, what's happening in the mind of Marsh, but eventually, like that's a big part of the book, I think, is when this situation is happening. Like when in this specific panel, that's not what I'm talking about. But when this is going to be happening in the future of the book with different characters, it's going to be an interesting, to see where it goes and how it's going to evolve the story, I think. But yeah. This is I'm remembering, like, as you're going through this art, this is really cool to see.
Yeah, it's kind. I mean, like I said, we've been doing this for a few years now.
Yeah.
So this thing it's been developed, and we finally, I think both of us have gotten to a place in life where we're ready to put the pedal to the metal, get this thing accomplished, and get it out to the masses.
Yeah, we got to do it. It's time to make it happen.
Yeah. So here we are on the next panel, and it is very dramatic. Marsh, again, standing behind the glass in a safe place, feels the power of this creature as he begins to lash out in anger. What am I? And he begins to try to remove the device, the equipment that is on him, and he sees up here a narrow ability to escape through this this covering, this security camera covering on the wall. And he jumps like an ape up to the thing and begins to claw at it. And of course, the general is scared. And he tells Crouppen, shut it down before that thing gets into the ceiling. I feel like, as far as the artwork goes, and as far as, I felt like I really began to learn a lot better about storytelling in this phase of creation. Before, there were some things that I was struggling with, and I feel like I'm getting better at my storytelling. So Crouppen, and I haven't done all my word balloons yet, but Crouppen is very much like, okay, I'm going to shut this thing down. They know that once this guy gets out into the wild, it'll be like a Weapon X situation. If anybody's familiar with, Wolverine and Weapon X, he escaped. There's no getting him back. This is a weapon. And if this weapon escapes, they are in deep trouble. So the assistant is sitting there ready with the button, and Crouppen has got to get the system to a certain level before they can hit an EMP to disable the creature. So just as he is ripping the ceiling out to get in, Crouppen says, "When?" and click. Brrr. And he goes down like a sack of potatoes. So EMP is the way that
break up a little. Yeah, I think it's biological, but it is a computer ultimately controlling the biology. So the only way you're going to take it down without starting some major conflict is going to be an EMP, which nobody's just carrying around in their pockets. So
yeah. So there's General Marsh looking down. Everyone else in the room was very concerned, and his assistant his lieutenant was ready with the gun, just in case he needed to use it. Crouppen goes into explanatory mode, trying to explain why there's such a problem. And as you can see, General Marsh is having none of it. General Marsh is like, we got to get this thing ready. We are losing this war, and this new technology is key. Yeah. So then gives him a few final parting words, and our lieutenant is waiting behind him, getting the door for him. And as they leave, that lieutenant has a mysterious look. We'll have to figure out what that's all about. But he slams the door, leaving these guys to look at their achievement, which had to be destroyed prematurely. And then afterward, a little bit later, we meet a new character who's going to be very central. A young fella who is named Boone, and Boone is the bodyguard / driver / assistant to Dr. Crouppen. They share a little dialogue. He explains what's going on. They are a close confidants, and Boone is ready to drive him to the next destination, which will be key to our story. So yeah, that's kind of like where we are. We've got 13 pages. Dialogue is being produced, and we'll script it out and fill it out. But we're in a good clip right now where we can do our storytelling on the fly, and we can I can do the artwork digitally now, which does help us with time. So we're looking to get this out as soon as possible. Like I said, we are going to have to do some funding to do this, I think.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Dan? Overall, like, are you excited about the story still?
I'm super excited about it still. I think going through and looking at the images start to finish again was really cool. And you know, we're talking about earlier off the stream, we were talking about some things, and like, you know, having a comic that has some action, that is interesting, that doesn't give you the full story right away, are things that are important, you know, to get the reader invested in it. And I think that, you know, this has all that. You know, the art's good, it's interesting, it's weird, and it's far enough out there and different enough that I think it could be something that people could read. And from seeing this go from us eating pizza and me telling you this weird idea to seeing it now on the screen, and you know, showing the artwork, it just gets me more hyped up for it. And you know, not everybody's gonna like it, and that's totally all right. If I can get some issues of this thing made and out there, and there's some people that enjoy it, it's gonna be mission accomplished for me. I'm gonna be, you know, creating the comic and the process has been the fun part. We've said that before, you know, when we talk, and
yeah,
it's been pretty exciting to do. You know,
yeah. I wanted to share this. We kind of did go ahead and define, you know, what this character is going to look like. As you can see in this cover, there's a difference between what this looks like and what it looks like in the book so far, and that's because we haven't really introduced all the new characters yet. But HIRO it stands for Hardware Integrated Reanimation Ordnance. So this is going to be like Pinocchio meets Frankenstein meets RoboCop meets The Walking Dead. And it's going to be a really weird and fun story. I would describe it, Dan, as a kind of a buddy story, a buddy movie type story.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be some laughs in it. It's not going to be all that serious. It is going to be a serious adventure with high stakes, but it's going to be very funny at the same time.
Yeah, there's going to be. Without giving anything away, yeah, it's going to be I feel like it'll be uniquely different, depending on the part of the story we're in. Even though the main characters might be the same, but situations are going to change pretty quickly, I would think.
Yeah.
And so it'll be really unique to see how that moves the story. You know, we have it pretty roughly fleshed out. I'd say 90% of the way, 80% of the way there, all the way to the end. And so, yeah, of course, there's a lot of more work that has to be done, but it'll be neat to see how it changes and where it goes. And I think the readers will enjoy it.
You know, it's really funny because it's hard to put something that you've created out there. It's fun to create it, but what's difficult is like putting it out in front of people and you know, hoping that they like it.
You know? Yeah. I want people to enjoy it the way I enjoy it, and nobody will enjoy it the way a creator does. But you know, I think it'll be cool. It's exciting, it's nerve-wracking, and it's scary, but it's ultimately going to be really cool to do. To just see, yeah.
I mean, when you put something in front of other people and they're like, they don't know what to do with it, it makes you kind of like, maybe we should share this. But I feel like you and I both have got this determination that as creators, it's something we want to do.
Yeah.
We're going to have fun with it. We're going to put our heart and soul into it. We're going to just do the best we possibly can. And then when it's out there, it's out there. And people can do with it what they want to do. But there's always that fear that you're going to fail. But I mean, you know, like what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, somebody doesn't like it. Somebody will. I feel like this is a really good story. Somebody's going to like this. And if enough people like it, maybe we can get it funded. Yeah. And if we get it funded, then maybe we can do more stories in the same universe.
I've seen worse things get funded. I've seen like absolutely like silly things get funded. And I feel like if like, I can't even think of one on the top of my head right now, but there's some weird things out there that people put their money towards. And I feel like if we can reach the audience and show them, you know, a unique, fresh, different story, it's not from Marvel or DC or Image, but it's from a couple of guys that are working hard. I think that people will dig it, you know?
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it just triggered my memory. You know, it's scary putting things out there. Like I work in an industry where there's not a lot of people that are into this sort of thing. But I am heavily, like my coworkers would look at me like I am the strangest dude for wanting to write a comic book at 35 years of age. Like that, what are you doing, man? But I believe in it so much. I'm so excited about it that I just can't wait. I don't care what anybody thinks at this point. Well, I mean, I care, but some people are going to hate it, and that's fine. Not everybody likes everything.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're right. And I have always been an illustrator. You know, I've always loved comic book artwork. I've got pages that I've created in all kinds of illustrations. You know, I've got a whole portfolio of characters that I've created and you know, pages that I've put together, but I've never created a complete story. And so for me, this is a big milestone that I'm going to achieve one way or the other. I mean, it's something that I feel like I have to complete. So I've got a fire in my belly to complete it. And, you know, the hope is that that people can see the hard work that's put into it and they can really appreciate it and they get behind us as creators and want to see more.
Yeah.
You know, because
you're breaking up.
And we put all kinds of things down with this. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I lost you for a second, but you're back.
What happened? You okay? We back?
I lost you. You were just you stopped talking for a second there and froze. But I believe everything you said.
You agree? 100%.
100%. But yeah, man, it's gonna be cool. And I hope that we got one or two people that will watch this video and they'll agree with us too.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Well, look, what did you want to accomplish anything on this book? Because I think that if I understand correctly, the plan is that we're going to work together like this a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to let people kind of just see the process. And this video is just kind of getting it started and showing like what we've got right now, where we're at. And then other videos to come will just show like what we're creating, how we came up with it, you know, and just let kind of people be a part of the process and the journey along the way.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And I like this idea of and letting people, you know, like in on what these two beginners are getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to try to tackle anything tonight or not, or if you want to wrap it up and.
Well, we've been talking for a while. Let's wrap it up tonight, and then what we'll do is we'll get in communication tomorrow at some point in time. Maybe we can do another one tomorrow night if that works for your schedule. If not, we'll figure out the next night we can do it.
Cool.
And if people like it, they can definitely follow along, and hopefully we'll get some followers on the YouTube page. And it's possible that we might actually kind of like, well, we're going to focus on YouTube, and we're going to try to get our channel subscription up, and we're going to try to use this as the platform from which we're going to share.
Yeah, and in the future there might be other places that you can follow, but for now this is going to be the place we're going to focus on. And I've watched a lot of vlogs, so you're supposed to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon or whatever, and follow us. So if we go live, you can click on your phone or your tablet or whatever and listen to us talk about nonsense. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I didn't see any. I didn't see anybody asking any questions or anything like that. I had the live chat up, so definitely in the future I will be watching the live chat. So if anybody wants to ask a question, we'll be glad to answer it as best we can. You know, we're definitely not experts, but we're going through the process. So if it's something you're interested in, that's what this is about.
We're going to learn, and you're going to learn with us, whether you like it or not.
We will make all the mistakes for you, so you won't have to. I will take all of Dan's money on printing and spend it unwisely, and you will be able to see how poor my decision for printing and spending Dan's money was.
You can't. There's no way. I've bought some really poorly printed comic books.
Yeah,
I bought some. I'm pretty sure were printed in a home dungeon somewhere in a bomb's basement somewhere. With sticky pizza fingers, and I bought some bad stuff.
Yeah, I actually got a comic from somebody I funded recently. I think you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to say who it is.
I got one too.
And man, it was a bad print. It was not a good print, and it was shipped incorrectly too. It was weird.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that story seemed really cool, and the artist was awesome, but
it didn't show up. I mean, the comic came. They completed it, and it came. It was everything it was supposed to be, but for the money, it was kind of like I was disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was a little bummed, but yeah.
You know what I've been seeing. We could talk a little shop real quick before we end it, but basically, what I've been seeing is 48 pages is the way to go.
Yeah, and I looked at that after you suggested it, and it seems like that's the smart move. Now
it's like you can get it's more than a comic. It's not as much as a graphic novel, right? But you can get a decent print, and it becomes more cost effective at that page number.
Yeah,
that's what it seems.
Pretty cool. It's nice because you can get a pretty complete story in there too, or most of one.
Yeah, at 48 pages, you can do a really solid story. But you can also do a good part one, you know, depending on how your story's set up, if it's a part one or a part two, whatever. My feeling is that you want to do a complete story, especially if people are investing in us, you know, like early.
Yep.
Any early investor, I don't want to give them kind of a cliffhanger necessarily. I want to give them a complete story as much as we can. Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's, early investors, I think it's important that they get their money's worth because, that's what I'd want to see if I was buying a book.
I mean, if you adopt what we're doing early, you're basically going to be my favorite person on earth, right? I mean, like if anybody who likes what we're doing at this stage will probably love what we're doing at a much later stage. You know?
I'm going to go ahead and say it now. All right. All of you guys that are going to be early adopters at any con or whatever in the future, if you see me on the street and you're like, hey, man, I bought your book when you guys made this really terrible YouTube video right in the beginning, you get free hugs, free high fives for life. From me, 100% free hugs, free high fives.
I will give straight up bear hugs, man. Yeah. I like big old burly bear hugs. What I like.
The Dan and Jay guarantee: free hugs, free high fives for life.
Big hugs.
Back in our
big
book.
Hugs.
I think that should be a perk. Like if we put that on, I think that should be a perk when we fund this thing.
Big burly bear hug.
Burly bear hugs, like free burly bear hugs for life.
All right, we can. I think we could put that in at a low entry rate too.
Like $5, $3. I don't know.
I think sometimes people would pay $5 for a good hug. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does make you feel good. I feel good too when I give a hug.
We could do high fives at like the $1 tier.
Yeah. All right, high fives. Yeah, and you have to pay a little extra to get a full on hug.
Right. So $5. I'll give you a big hug for $5.
Yeah,
and then you know, like if you pay 10, maybe you get a group hug with me and Dan simultaneously group hugging.
That's I'm in for that too. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, we've made progress. We already have 3 tiers figured out right here.
And you know what? Like if the book doesn't do anything, we're gonna make a lot of people feel good.
If nothing else, man, just see us at a con and we'll give you a big old burly bear hug.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good stuff. So I'm going to post this video, and you, Dan, definitely need to go like it and share it out. But, you know, like I said, like let's try to get new subscribers. As much as I know that your mom wants to watch you on YouTube, let's focus on people that might want to actually follow comics.
All right.
But share it out and or you know, send it to people that you know might dig it. I'll put it out on Twitter and you know, and I'll put the video on here. And as we move forward, we might shift things around. But for now, it's my YouTube channel, Jason Williams, MJ Williams. I'm at MJ Williams 75 on Twitter. So that's where you can find me, and you can tweet at me.
I'm not gonna have a Twitter yet, but maybe one day.
Why are you not? Why can't you do Twitter? What's up with that?
I'm just not into it. I don't know. I like Instagram because there's a photo. There's a photo with, and I know Twitter you can get photos with it, but I don't know. Maybe I need to give it another shot. I tried to do Twitter before, and I just got tired of it.
I mean, Twitter basically is a big old dumpster fire. You know, I mean, it's just a bunch of, of like people being mean to everybody else, which I don't like that necessarily. I wish it was a little bit more civil, but it is a great place to find certain things. I mean, it's a great place to research. It's a great place to find new people. I mean,
well, listen, I have a Twitter. I'm going to re-download it. If it helps in any way, if anybody cares, my Twitter is at Ride Die Repeat. Nobody's gonna tweet me at all. That's
I'm gonna tweet you right here in a few minutes, just so you can feel.
I can find my pass. If I can figure out my password is, maybe I'll try this.
So what? So are you a Facebook guy? I mean, are you?
You know, I'm even dying on that. I'm just getting tired of Facebook. Like mostly, just Instagram is the most. Like, I think the most interesting thing, because I like a photo or a video. I'm a very visual person. I'm super ADHD. I want to look at a thing and then go to the next one, and that's what I like. And I know Twitter has some of that too. But I just get tired. Like it's a lot of dumb stuff. Like look at my new tennis shoes or whatever. Or just like snippets of news articles that I don't care anything about. Or like whatever the newest product is, and I just get tired of that stuff too. I don't know. I'm like anti-social media, but
they got several different kinds of channels for several different kinds of people. So
I haven't been on it for probably 2 years at least. So I'm gonna give it. I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. You're on Instagram too, right?
Instagram at Danny Stanny.
Yeah. And you post a lot of cool stuff on there. And I'm on Instagram too. I think it's MJ Williams 75 on Instagram too. And I do post some artwork, but mostly just pictures of my kids. What we should do probably, and this is some real talk business, we probably should create social media for the book itself.
Yeah.
To separate from like our personal lives and
right,
all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's people that want to follow probably just want to see the progress on the book.
Right. That would be, yeah, and that's where you'd need to go is whatever we're going to create. I mean, I think a Twitter and a Facebook is probably smart. Maybe Instagram if we have a lot of things to show, but not yet because you need some sort of photo.
Yeah.
For that, and man, I wonder what my password is.
Well, look, let's end this thing, and I'm going to post it, and hopefully somebody will watch it and get a little something out of it. And hey, man, we showed some artwork. You know, we gave a good inside look at what we're doing. So hopefully it's interesting to somebody.
Yeah, I hope if anybody watches this, I hope you enjoy it. If you know me personally, I'm sorry. And
yeah, anybody knows me personally, everybody knows I'm into comics. Everybody knows Dan's into comics, and most people probably know we've tried to make a comic. So
yeah, most of them do, I think. So
this is it in all its boring glory for all you people who don't care about comics, but for all you people who love comics, all you nerds out there, we're gonna mess it up and make it cool. And at the end of the process, we're gonna have a really choice creator-owned comic book that you are going to dig, and you're going to watch it.
It's going to be killer. Thanks, everybody.
All right, later, bud.
All right, man. Catch you later.